Hi! Welcome to the contemporary world. Today, I will introduce you to the concepts of globalization and explore on the definitions given by political scientists, economists, and culture and communication experts. But before we start, let's talk about your experiences. Let's talk about your day or your week. I will be showing pictures and questions. Try to answer them mentally. How was it? If you answered yes to one of these questions, you are not alone. In fact, we can observe this trend among many young people of your age. This just means that you are living in the contemporary world. But what is a contemporary world? Simply put, the contemporary world is the modern world, the present world, the present world that you are living. It is the society where generations are exposed to influences, may it be on entertainment, lifestyle, hobby, food, and other preferences. This is a world where games mean Among Us, Roblox, Minecraft, Craft, or Homescapes. Not Patintero, not Sungka, not Tumbang Preso. This is a generation when dance presentations are accompanied by pamparampam, not tinikling or mandalatik. Indeed, many Filipino lives are shaped by other countries. Now, this trend can be clearly called as a global economic imperialism. What is an economic imperialism? As defined, global economic imperialism is a situation in which one nation assumes economic power or influence over the others. What's the best example for that? Philippines, for instance. We assume economic power or influence over the others, say the Americans. Actually, we have terms to call these kind of influences or situation, which also refers to Westernization, Americanization, or in your Filipino literature, they also call it Mcdonaldization or Mcdonaldization. These three terms only mean a thing, that Filipinos adopt ideas and behavior that are characteristic of the West and of North America while relegating the ideas and behavior traditional in their culture. So we adopt the culture of the Western countries. However, there is a much bigger umbrella to these terms, and we call it globalization. Globalization is a very broad term. Authors and scholars would often associate the term or the concept as a process, a condition, or an ideology. However, the only certain thing about globalization is that it is a phenomenon or an event, and it is happening now. Now, there is no single definition for globalization. Actually, even scholars, experts, economists, they are finding it hard to arrive at one definition, which is true to all experts or scholars. For instance, si Rosenau, he defined globalization more on what it is not rather than by what it is. And he used the terms globalization and universalism to contradict the theories or the concept of globalization. You can read what is flashed on the screen for reference. Meanwhile, Professor Anthony McGrew defined globalization as something that is comprised of multiple sameness and interconnectedness that go beyond the nation states. So if we're going to connect this to the definition given by Rosenau, we can conclude that globalization is really not universal, meaning it cannot be shared by all of the world's population. However, what's sure is that there is multiple sameness and interconnectedness, as McGrew described it. So what does that mean? Let's take this as an example. Now, online shopping is a trend, maybe in the Philippines, United States, China. A lot are shifting to virtual purchasing of services and goods. But while majority does this or are open for this, there are still people who does not prefer to buy things online. And some might not still have experience on buying online. To amplify the meaning of interconnectedness or multiple sameness, you can refer to this definition. So it says that globalization is a process in which individuals and organizations in one part of the world are affected by the activities, affairs, and convictions on another part of the globe. So as long as there is shared values, activities, conviction, culture, and what more, this is globalization as a phenomenon. Another point was raised by Manfred Stegers. He's an economist, and he pointed out that globalization weakens nationality into one of globality. So since you are adopting culture, traditions, products from other countries, which was also described in the global economic imperialism, what happens to the nationality of that state or of that nation will be weakened. So for instance, as I mentioned a while ago, yung games dati, we have patintero, tumbang preso, and what else. But nowadays, children or youngsters are more exposed to a Western type of games or sports. So that's the point of Manfred Stegers. And this was rebutted by other scholars then. So other scholars argued that in actual globalization increases consciousness of deepening linkages between the local and far off. So if we're gonna compare with Steger's definition, this is somewhat contradicting to what he said because for other scholars, linkages within the locality or the nationality will also be strengthened. So that is the definition of globalization. Again, I'd like to highlight that globalization is a phenomenon. You might also want to remember these keywords concerning globalization, that it is an interconnectedness, commonness, or a share in cultural, economic, religious, and or political attributes of not just one, but more nation states global. Now, a while ago, there are concepts or terms that we mentioned in defining globalization, such as globality and globalism. So, what is globality? If globalization is a phenomenon, globality, on the other hand, is a social condition. When we say condition, this means that it is affected by something. There is a variable that is affecting an event now in this case, what's affecting the globe is a thick economic, political, and cultural interconnection and global flow, which makes currently existing political borders and economic barriers irrelevant. So what are those that affect the current conditions we are experiencing. We have the multinational and transnational companies such as McDonald's and Jollibee. We also have international trading, economic blocs, the United Nations, the Union, and other global or international governments or organizations. Now, what about globalism? So, if globalization is a phenomenon, then globality is a social condition. Globalism, on the other hand, is an idea or an ideology. It's like the spirit of all these phenomenon and events and conditions we are facing today. A working definition for globalism is an ideology that represents the core claims of globalization, meaning this is the framework or the backbone of globalization. This is the idea that makes it possible for globalization to exist or to happen. And these claims are as follows. First is globalization is about liberalization and global integration. Liberalization is setting fewer government regulations and restrictions to allow economic activities, in a sense that the governments are laxing to allow more global connections. One good example of this, if you were able to observe, is on how the current administration dealt with issues related to China. And in return, they gained diplomatic relationship with that nation. Second claim is that globalization is inevitable and irreversible. This is true as events happen so rapidly and they are influenced by drastic demands in the global market. We cannot control that. Even big companies cannot control that. Even international governments or organizations does not have a hold to these events. Third, nobody is in charge of globalization. While many international organizations, multinational companies play major roles in shaping the society we have today, they are not to take credit for this. In reality, we all contribute to globalization, even those who does not want or welcome globalization. Again, we are all players of globalization. Fourth is that globalization benefits everyone. Aside from global peace, global terror is also spread worldwide due to globalization. In short, globalization also has setbacks or disadvantages. However, globalization claims that in the long run, these changes will benefit all, not just the majority. And lastly, globalization furthers the spread of global democracy in the world. The democracy we're talking here does not pertain to a change in the form of government, say for instance, Philippines, democratic na, Kenya, democratic na, China, democratic na, no. But rather, a shared belief honored by the majority. The events, the conditions, and the ideology behind these events and conditions are all working together to create this global village. This global village is a world where borders are irrelevant. It's a borderless world. And this is the aim of globalization. So, what do you think? Post your answer in the comment section below and follow or accomplish the activities posted in your Google Classroom. Thank you. When it happens.